by the end of sustainability, you will ask more questions about both core and sustainability. Okay? Okay, good. So this is going to be presenting this global scorecard is just for you to aware that sustainability is not just engineering alone, it is beyond engineering. So when I come to area team visit to your hotels, I see in the sustainability page all about engineering, right? So we are recycling of STP is happening, we are doing this project, we are doing VFD. So that's not sustainability anymore. Just doing some energy saving is a part of sustainability, but broader picture, sustainability is more than engineering. You need to, when you go back, of course, your other team members also will become more aware about this, but you need to also start educating to them. It's just not engineering, but definitely we do our bit. So that's the reflection of our global, the direction. You can see few topics like nurture our world, empower through opportunity, welcome all and advanced human rights, which we spoke a little bit, and then to our sustained responsible operations. So we are going to see little more about this part of the slide, and we are going to quickly run through the first three topics because I want you to be aware at least what it is. May not be the data and in-depth details, but you just need to know what it is as a program. Yeah, nurture our world. We are talking about doing the spirit to serve activities and community footprints. That's what they say in Ritz-Carlton. So that is all about engaging more and more with this society. And there are some numbers given to it. You don't need to memorize all that numbers. Like by 2025, 80% of our managed hotels will be participating in community service. Currently, it is an option, and by default many of our hotels are doing, but we want to put a number to it and we want to achieve by 2025. So that's about the nurture our world. And then empower through opportunity. So we decided to invest 5 million US dollar in developing people. Can you imagine 5 million US dollar? To be honest, I don't even know how many zeros if you convert into rupees. So imagine that much amount of money is going to go into the development of skill for the future. And who is part of that program? We all. We all are part of that program. So you all are going to get benefited. You are going to be upskilled, let's say. You're going to be upskilled. Many of you already going to core programs, some of you going to some international programs. So that's going to become even more and more as the time progresses. And just not what we are doing currently, it's going to be so many new initiatives which will be introduced at some point of time for the talent development. And we are living by example, right? We have one talent development session and we are going to do that. We are going to do our bit to the bigger picture of Marriott. So that's about, and the welcome all and advanced human rights. As I said, it's all about human trafficking. So human trafficking is a big topic and big subject in many countries. Maybe not as big in our country, but we just need to be aware. Even by mistake, if something is happening in your knowledge or in your property, you just need to be aware about. So there are good amount of things mentioned in the MGS about human trafficking, and it's a common subject. You don't need to go only to MGS, but I don't foresee any challenge at this point of time with us. Now, going to our real sustainability topic, which is hardcore engineering topic, where we have our role to play, where we are going to contribute to the rest of the whole hotel and then the society. So to make it easier, I'll go to this slide. And as I said, the left hand side, you just forget, not much. And then the right hand side is what we are going to focus. So let's go a little bit in depth about this. I don't know how many of you could read this. I think it's not the best of the slide, but let's start with 15, 30, 45 and 50. It's basically our energy and water and your landfill and all that. So each one of you are historically getting goals from WK. It's just not today we are starting this initiative. It's just some of the details and the measurement methods might slightly vary, but the core job is what we have been doing, as I said. And we are putting a global number to it, and we are putting a little long-term number to it. So you know how much you need to achieve this year, right? But do you know what we need to do until 2025 so that you are better prepared? You are just not fixing only the short-term things, or you are not fixing only what you need for this year. So I'll give you one beautiful example from Dharam's section. So I got an email saying that we need more ROI projects. Imagine this mail is coming from finance to us saying that looking at the next 5 years business forecast, we have money to spend, but we want more ROI projects from your engineers. That's when some of your hotel, again I communicated to you to improve or jack up your ROI projects. So this is another synergy between department, right? It's a forward thinking. Somebody thinks about next 5 years. That's why, they are requesting us and we are upgrading ourselves. So it's all about 15% is what I'll shuttle between these two slides. This is for our Asia Pacific goals, especially for our continent. There are global goals, there are Asia Pacific goals, and there are other continent goals. Each continent will vary by its own nature, right? So we can't blindly set a target, okay, go and reduce. Is all your balance scorecards are same, you think? No. Each of your balance scorecards are very different. There will be coincidences, but it has been thought through it. We spent more time in planning and setting the goals and which hotel we go hotel by hotel. Can you imagine? WK has got how many numbers? 520 WK? Whole Asia Pacific? Hotels, whole Asia Pacific? Huh? 700 now. Before even 700 plus, before even we realize. So each hotel is getting analyzed and then your goals are being fixed. In the same way, so it's not just one Excel sheet comes to you and that's the goal, not that way. And there are a lot of debates. So I might ask for some exemption to one of you, to WK, and he will ask for the justification. Why for this particular hotel? Then I have to convince. Then only I can get a little reduced goal for that particular hotel. So everything is scrubbed, every numbers are well thought of, and then you are getting it. In the same way, headquarters has done a very exhaustive study before arriving these numbers for each continent. What is the potential in this continent? What is the potential with respect to individual energy sources? And that's a huge study, nearly about 1.5 years that study has happened. And then again, as a above property, we all contributed to that, and many of you also contributed to that. Probably you are not aware that you are contributing to that. We asked many data from you about your health faucets and water flow standards, what is that you are having currently and all that. So you all are contributed to this, every single one of you. Maybe you don't know at that point of time. So for our region, Asia Pacific, the water intensity we have to reduce 21.9% to be precise. So 22% we need to reduce by 2025, and that's how you are getting your broken up goals for every year. So how do we reach this 22? So there is a broader perspective, and then it is broken down to your individual balance scorecards. Carbon intensity, 32% we have to reduce. That much is the potential available in our continent, and that's what the study, which was extensively done, revealed that we have 32% carbon. As I said, some time back we talk about energy intensity. All of a sudden we started talking last few years about carbon intensity. So we keep upgrading ourselves in the same way. Each one of you, suppose if I say someone from here, you should be able to tell what is carbon intensity, and if I call somebody from that section, next conference, Okay, I'm going to do that next year, next conference. So you need to know, each one of you need to know. You can't Google, you can't check at that point of time. It should be in our mind. You know, that is the way you can again train your team, you can teach your team. So that is the minimum expectation from each one of you. And then moving on, landfill. Landfill is a big subject, very big subject. Fortunately or unfortunately, in my opinion, we are not so much into landfill. We are so much into energy reduction and water reduction at this point of time. But there are scientists or the environmentalists foresee landfill is going to be the biggest problem than anything else in the near future. So I know our focus is little less on this, but we need to start thinking more on that. Landfill is all about garbages, right? We think that way. But who can influence it in your hotel? Who can influence it? Yeah, you can influence it. Of course, everybody can contribute. Housekeeping can contribute, kitchen stewarding can contribute, purchase can contribute in a big way, and they are doing it in a big way. How to, go for recyclable materials and all. We have a very regular meeting about this. But you as a director of engineering, you can influence little more than anybody else in the hotel. So that's why it is sitting with us in our balance scorecard. So this landfill, 45%, imagine you are sending, let's say, 3 tracks. Currently, you are expected to send only 1 track or 1.5 track as the time progresses. So you might, at the same time, your business is increasing, your occupancy is increasing, covers are increasing. So you need to fight the battle even more harder than usual. How are you going to achieve this 45% reduction with on the other hand, you have increasing occupancies, and when from any of your hotel, the budget comes with the same occupancy, first person to reject will be Dharam. He's not going to accept, right? We need increment, we need more money. Every year, X%, we need more salary, all of us. How it will come if he approves a flat budget? So it is going to increase. So you need to be aware of that, and you need to just see and mentally prepare yourself. There is no one single solution to that. If there is a one single solution, very easy. We can project in the board now and say go and do it, right? Each city is different, each hotel's problems are different, each area is very different, rules and regulations are different. So you are the one who need to find solution. Of course, we will definitely extend our support and anything if you want to discuss. But these are all the goals which will invariably come more harder into our balance scorecards. And then renewable energy, I am proud to say that I'm sure WK will acknowledge this as well. In Asia Pacific, India is one of the good performing countries in renewable energy. Sometimes we don't know how we are gifted and how we are doing extremely well. You need to aware that nearly more than 75% of our hotels renewable energy comes from South Asia. So that is through your various things. You have energy contract, power purchase contract for in terms of windmill and solar and all that. Many of you are having your own solar water plants on the rooftop. Some of you are having solar generation itself, on-site generation, and some of you have off-site generation. So your owners or the hotel has got somewhere else and you are wheeling in and wheeling out. So it could be in any ways. There are multiple ways to do this, and you need to now think, what is that I'm going to do next? What is that I'm going to do for next 3 years for this hotel or next 5 years? And you need to start blocking money for all that in the captain or treks. So that's the place where we are proud and we are definitely leading. And because our infrastructure is in such a way in the country, helping you to go for more renewable energy. So that's something to talk good about. And rest of the things talks about the certification. You need a day or even more to talk about certification. It's not going to be just easy to say in few lines, this is what it is all about, you can go and do. Not that way. So we have a vision to have more lead buildings in our portfolio. We already have 6 or 7 of our buildings are already LEED certified. Can you put your hands up, whoever is here? It could be gold. Yours is there. Okay, JW Sahar, JW Aerocity, and then Mahabaleshwar, Lee Meridian Mahabaleshwar. We also have many engineers, unfortunately couldn't attend, Whitefield Marriott, and then JW Pune, if I'm right, and then few more hotels are LEED certified. But our goal is going to have 40 hotels by the time. Again, this is Asia Pacific goal, but we need to contribute. The best example, in fact, I want to recognize Atif from Lee Meridian Mahabaleshwar. Please stand up, Atif. Who has converted his current hotel into a certified, LEED certified hotel, which is not an easy thing, right? You are doing with your initiative. Building a hotel as a LEED building and then handing over to you is owner's job. Owners are kind enough to do that. But converting the existing building is not easy. So next year in the conference, I would love to wake up more of you to recognize for this particular aspect. Anybody else? Am I missing anybody else who converted later? I think that is the recent one. So I would love to see, I know there are low hanging fruits. There are many buildings. You are very closer to the LEED requirements already, but you are just not certified. So what we are doing to that, I want to take this opportunity and tell you, team, LEED certification is, don't see that as a expense, don't see that as a waste of money. That is where our future is there. That is where our goals are aligned. So we are tying up with the US Green Building Council, who has agreed to do a free study of your hotel, and then they will tell you where are you currently. Okay. LEED, I think many of you will be knowing, as I said, we can't cover everything in this session. LEED itself is a very big topic. So there are point systems. You need to comply to those point systems, then your building will be certified. And there are 4 different categories of certification. So US Green Building Council agreed to do a free study of your hotel. So later I will send out a mail to all of you. You can opt, whoever is really interested. It is not mandatory that each and every one of you to do at this stage, but first the optional batch. I also want to see, right, who are the volunteers, who has more enthusiasm, who is more willingness, all that. So I always send only first options to see who is really opting. So I'll send that out to opt. Then we can help you to connect with the US Green Building Council, know your numbers. Just know where are you currently and know your gap. If you think your gap is too much and you need to do a lot of changes in the system, then take your time of next 3-4 years to incorporate one by one every year what you want to do. But I'm already guaranteeing you, by seeing your energy intensity and your hotel, many of our hotels are little closer, especially the new hotels are very closer to those points. So that becomes the biggest opportunity for you to convert that into a good potential. Yeah. So so that's about the LEED certification. And one last thing is, as our initiative from South Asia, you are going to see this very soon. We are introducing an environmental scorecard. Each of our hotel will be evaluated from the environmental point of view. So there is nothing in between here. It's yes or no. And this is just the scorecard for engineering portion I am showing here. Like this, there are purchase related things which Dharam and team are working on. There are operations related things, like operations related examples. How a hotel can be environment friendly, not from engineering perspective, from operations perspective. Any examples? Engineering, you all can throw hundreds of ideas. Operations. Plastic bags. Correct. Anything else? We did many things. Pulling the cab. Yeah, okay. And then? Yes. soap shower dispensing, right? You're not going to go and give every amenity. Again, this is brand specific, not to all, but we started that initiative. I'm just wanting to know, I'm curious to see how much you are gelling with your operations. Engineering is not a separate track, right? You need to gel with them, you need to know what they are doing, and you need to help them, and that's how the synergy is produced. Any more? There are many more we did in South Asia. Sorry? Reuse program. Yes. Okay, good. Star. That should be the easiest thing to remember, right? So we did many things, and many things are on the way. In the same way, from engineering perspective, these are all the things you need to, these are all the broader guidelines. Your hotel will be judged by this, and then you can have your own things just on top of this, definitely. So that's about sustainability, and now I have the liberty to answer the question from both the sessions. I have given more time for you to think about core and sustainability. Any questions, please? If question comes, I'm not going to answer. We have many committees here, right? I'm going to just put that to the committee to answer you. Easy job. Santosh is very happy now, laughing. If you are not asking question, I will end up asking question. Yeah, WK is my lifeline. If I cannot answer, I will go to him. Now he is asking question.
The question is not for you, it's for the group. Because you told the group that next conference, you probably will ask them about the carbon intensity and water intensity of their hotel. How can they get the numbers?
How can they get the numbers?
Ask them.
Yeah. So, what WK is asking is, next conference I'm going to ask each one of you about carbon intensity and water intensity, right? So, how can we get the numbers? From the mesh. Okay. Any other answers? Yes, that's right.
That's correct. But how can they guarantee the numbers in mesh are correct?
Yeah. So now the next question is, how do you know that your numbers in the mesh are correct? Okay, see, mesh is what? Garbage in, garbage out. So when you feed something, it just gives something. If you feed little wrong data, it is going to throw up wrong numbers. So WK's question is, how do you first authentify as it is a right number? Any answers, please?
Sir,
your name, hotel, and then answer.
Yeah, Shrikant here from Courtyard, Hebbal, Bengaluru. In the mesh, we are not only putting the data of the volume, whatever the water or electricity, along with it, we are uploading or we are sending the invoice also. So if we put the wrong data, invoice will not say the wrong thing. So that is what I believe we will not do wrong. If we do by mistake the data entry also, the invoice is there which will give us the correct value over there.
Okay, good. This is provided if you are not wrong and if Schneider also not wrong, correct? But since the platform is new, that is not the reality. We have little problem from our side also. We have some issue with them also. So now still WK's question is unanswered. Any more answers? Yes. We have like 3 more minutes to hand over the stage to Zaram. So you can take your time, ask more questions.
Hi, this is Nilesh from JW Juhu. We are simultaneously maintaining our old Excel sheet also to compare it with the mesh data. So if anything wrong there or anything, immediately will come to know and we address it to mesh.
So comparing with your traditional Excel data is one tool you think?
Till the time we get, we are confident that we are getting correct data now.
Okay,
because
good.
there are some challenges with the mesh side or some challenges from our side. We have multiple sources of energy. So calculation is become little difficult.
Okay, good. So that's the second method of checking, but I think it's still, WK expects a little different answer from you all. So some more attempts, please.
Hi.
Now whoever is holding mic can talk.
Hi, this is Abdul Wahid from 4 Point Sheraton, Srinagar. we can have formulas for carbon intensity and water intensity. Like for carbon intensity, we have formula, the total energy divided by the number of square meters, I guess. And for water intensity, I guess it's total water consumed divided by number of rooms, total number of rooms,
Occupied rooms.
occupied rooms, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, good. There's
You
a
can
definition
cross-check.
of it. There's a definition of it. His question is, how do you be sure that the number coming out from mesh is absolutely right to your building? Okay, any more attempts? There are one or two more methods to check. I think you were trying to answer something. But so far so good. Whatever you have given, all of them are valid, and that will make you more robust in the accuracy.
Ashok Bhardwaj from Courtyard Marriott. We can check the data with our balance scorecard as well.
Balance scorecard.
Yes.
Okay, balance scorecard is what you enter into it. Okay, any other?
Thank you.
Any other? Here, Halim.
We got a sheet from Mao, and we are putting the data over there as well, and we'll have to keep cross-checking our mesh every after 15 days or 20 days, that what is the data changes. If we didn't do it, then we miss it.
Okay, so Vijay has added one more valid point. You are all getting from MEDA, right? One data verification smart sheet. So in that, if the variation is more than +5 or +2 or -5, all that also a indication. The moment it goes out, that triggers you. Oh, something is not correct, or you just need to be aware what it is. Could be suddenly you started operating a laundry, or there is a huge function. It could be anything, but that could be that is one of the verification tool. Okay, Halim want to say something.
So apart from the Excel sheet, there is in mesh there is a one tab that is data verification. Apart from that, Mr. Mao has sent us a job ad, and fourth one is we did a 3 to 4 con call with Mr. Mao for same topic. So these 3 or 4 things has there to check our data. Is it correct or variation?
So one additional point what Halim says is the verification. There is a verification facility about your variation. How many of you are aware of it? If not, don't worry. Tomorrow there is a session. You can ask Eleanor to explain little more about that. Yeah, you can see. You can test the data what you are entering. If the deviation is beyond a limit, Mr. Ramamurthy can take about this subject days together about standard deviation and variations and all that, because he is the black belt, Sigma black belt in that topic. Yeah. So, so there is a provision to verify your data. The system will tell you if there is any artificial variation, then it will immediately highlight you. And if there is a genuine variation, you can always go back to them and justify, and then you can close that. Eleanor will brief more on that. Any other thing, WK, to add? Looks like they covered majority of that. Good. Proud of you, team. You covered everything. Thank you. Again, thank you all. Let's invite Mr. Dharam Reshamwala for his next session.
Thank you, Raj.
So I want to talk to you all a little bit about this slide. Dharam is not aware of this slide. He has his own beautiful presentation. So we thought, last year, as you all know, last time we did excellence as our theme, pursue excellence in Kochi. And then in Phuket, we did basics, right? Back to basics. And this time I thought, you all can see our company's core values here. How many of you noticed? So these are all our core values. It also talks about change, which has happened, right? After the integration, so many changes to all of us, not for any one individual. So we embrace that change in a very nice way, in a very good way. And then we thought integrity, although I don't foresee any issue, but it's always good to know more about integrity. And then so that even by mistake, we are not getting into any issues or any wrong things. So that's why we picked up integrity this year, and I requested Mr. Dharam like 4-5 months back itself to block his calendar. And as you can see, the needle will never go from here, right? Normally, north and south is north and south. There's nothing in between for the needle. And who controls the needle? In my opinion, Mr. Dharam is controlling the needle. He is the gatekeeper for the integrity. Of course, he and his team, and each one of us are supposed to do our bit. So I thought Dharam is a very right person to enlighten us, educate us more about integrity, so that you are absolutely safe and intact in what you are doing. Thanks, Dharam.
Good morning, everybody. Louder, louder. I don't need to hear louder. Perfect. What is the fundamental of our company's base core? When we say core, we spoke about core, right? Our fundamental how many of us have heard of MIP 1? Raise your hands. MIP 1. That's the first thing we sign when we join the company. The forms which you sign, the first form which you sign, which you join the company, is a MIP 1, which you. So that's what means that when we work in a company, we'll work in an ethical manner. Ethic is the foundation stone of our company value system. A lot of companies say it, and I can tell you I've worked in different countries, different companies, but I can proudly say, standing here today, that in Marriott, we actually walk the talk. It's not about lip service. It's actually, there's complete pull through from what we state in a policy to what it actually happens on the ground. That's a complete pull through on that whole piece. So what is the objective of MIP 1? MIP 1 talks, as you rightly say, Marriott conducts its business in accordance with uncompromising ethical standards and comply with all applicable rules, laws and regulations, right? That's absolutely the core. We put it right out there that we will conduct a business of running our hotels in a very ethical manner, right? And we'll make sure that we comply with all law, regulations of each individual country. It's not that, a lot of people say that, okay, chalta hai usko aise jugaad kar lo, right? In India, we said, okay, do it this way. No, unfortunately, it may work with other companies, right? But in Marriott, it will not work. You guys, all team sitting over here are looking after the hotel from an engineering perspective. You have to deal with a lot of things, right? You have to deal with a lot of laws and regulations of ensuring that the fundamentals of what is there. Like we have a lot of inspections, right, from the different government agencies. Part of the job is to make sure that you are ensuring that we are complying with the laws and regulations. Quite often what happens is that we have blocked the fire. When we have a sudden inspection, what do we find? That our team has blocked the fire exits. And we get taken to task by that. That we get written up, or suddenly we get a notice from the authorities that, and the notice, what happens to the notice? The notice doesn't come to you. It doesn't come to the general manager of the hotel too, right? It goes to the director of the board of directors saying your hotel is not in compliance. And guess what happens next? Who gets to hear about it? Marriott gets to hear about it, that your hotel is not being managed properly. They have blocked all the fire exits by putting all the extra spare parts or whatever stores, what is there. So the example which I'm giving is just to put it in the context of a live environment of trying to ensure that it's complying with the real standards. The second thing which is important and which is a very core objective is adherence to such ethical and standards can never be traded in favor of any business objective, right? Now, you may come back and say, have seen this happening, right? That people come back and say, if we do this thing, right, it may be a slight deviation from the law, but it will have a financial benefit. Guess what? My answer to every single place when such kind of thing comes across is that no amount of financial benefit is important enough for me to break the law or move away from my ethical standard. That's the absolute core. Am I making myself clear? When you go back and look at your hotels, right? Even when you go back and look at all these projects which you're doing, and when you're looking at all these ways of cost containment or how to do things better, the fundamental thing which you need to keep in perspective is that does it comply with the law? Does it comply with the regulations which are in place? And does it comply with the ethical conduct of doing business? Right? The third thing is, you can't come back and say that because our competition next door is doing it, if they have done it, why can't we do it? Unfortunately, that doesn't work for Marriott. Just because everyone can go on the other side, we will still stay on the right side. And that's the only side we'll stay on. I've been in the company for 11 years, and one thing which I've learned in this company is that the only way of doing a thing is the right way of doing thing. There's no, in accounts and finance, there's only black and white. You can't have a gray area in between, right? And the last piece which is there is, as Director of Engineering, you have a responsibility to make sure that when any new person comes on board, the training which is there given to you are giving your value system which of a company onto the new person, right? It is your responsibility to ensure that they follow the same path as what each one of us is following in a company. Because when they come from outside the company, they are used to a different value system. But when they join our company, we need to make sure that we train them into our value system so that there's no conflict coming through. Is it applicable to only to you and me? No, it is applicable to every single associate of Marriott worldwide, right? It's worldwide. Across the country, no exceptions can be given to following the ethical conduct. If any exception has to be made to the policy of ethical conduct, it needs to be approved by the board of directors of the company. That itself should give you an inkling how much importance we give for adherence to the policy. All associates, as I mentioned, it is all associates' the responsibility of all associates to ensure that we adhere to the ethical conduct from our side. One of the important way is we always say that the way we do our business is as important as the business we do, right? What is this? It's and I put it in bold, right? Why do you think I put that in bold and I put it right at the top? Because that goes to the core of our business, the way we do business. It basically means the way we do our business is as important as the business we do. What is the business we do? We run hotels, right? But the way we run our hotels is as important as the business we do. The business of running hotels is important to us, but we will not compromise in our ethics in the way we run our hotels. Will not compromise by breaking the laws of the country when we run our hotels. Will not do violation. Will not go and bribe some people from our side to get us a license while we are running the hotel. Right? Will not go and bribe that inspector who comes to inspect our property, right? To give us a clear license that yes, it's a pass, just to ensure that we get a pass certificate. That is the core about it. The way we do our business is as important as the business we do. Just give us a couple of minutes. I saw the engineer running away, afraid to fix the lights. Quite often, people have come to me and have told me that, Dharam, this will help us in doing things. And my response constantly has been that I understand this will help you. I understand it is good for and quite often this may be coming from some ownership groups, right? But quite a bit of, many of our ownership groups, they're new to it, right? They're not used to the way we MARRIOTT functions, right? Quite often this kind of suggestions come from some ownership groups to say that, please go back and fix your hotel, do this in your hotel, right? And my response, when the property team has come and checked with me, I have always gone back and told, unfortunately, we cannot do that because the way we do our business is as important as the business we do. We will not do things which are not right, right? So please keep this in mind when you have, when you are at your hotels. Golden piece of advice which I'll give you right at the beginning is, when in doubt, always ask for a question. Asking is free, right? Please go to your director of finance, please go to your general manager, please go to Raj Sarvana, right? Please go back, ask a question, because it's better to ask and check than to go back later and say that, be sorry about things. Because I can tell you one thing, as you'll see later, in MARRIOTT there is very limited tolerance for breaking the ethical conduct policy. We need to make sure that we obey all relevant laws and comply with the business conduct guide, right? When we go at the hotel, we are all told that you have to sign the document which you sign is a business conduct guide of how you will operate at the hotel, right? Report financial condition and results of operations fairly, right? When you say at the hotel level, when you are presenting your information, right? And every month you submit your accruals in place, right? Every hotel, how many of your director of finance ask you to submit your accruals? I see some people are still not raising their hand. That means the director of finance are not asking you to submit accruals. Huh? How many of your director of finance ask you to submit accruals at the end of the month? Good. And my question to you about, what do you mean by accruals, right? Sorry, I'm going to digress a little bit over here. When you say accrual for an item, what will you accrue for an item for? You will accrue for an item provided the service has been provided or has been issued but the invoice has not been received, right? You do not raise an accrual for just because you haven't spent the money and you say that, okay, fine, I have got a 1 lakh rupee budget, I haven't spent the money, I haven't used the service, let me go back and accrue for that expense, I'll use it in the future. It's not a bank that you can go back and bank it over there, right? When we say we'll do our accounts, finances in an ethical manner, one of the things which I'm trying to get at is, if by accruing for a service which you are not accounted for, you haven't received, that is cooking your books. The other piece which is there is deal honestly and fairly with clients, customers, suppliers, and financial partners. Ethical conduct is not only about how we do our business, but it's also how we deal with other people who deal with us, right? And we need to be doing it in a fair and honest manner. Avoid conflict of interest. Very important point. What is conflict of interest? Any answers? I want to hear some answers. What do you mean by conflict of interest? Anyone? Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Tell me. Is there a mic available over here, please? Here, right over here. Yeah, what is
We have
conflict
to
of
avoid
interest?
any business relationship or business dealing with people who are directly being associates of Marriott.
Sorry, come again?
We should have to avoid business relationship or business dealings with people who are directly been with our organization.
Okay, that's one. What others? Any other conflict of interest, guys? Very important point, conflict of interest. What does?
Suppose I am the engineer, I am director of engineer. As a engineer, I should not do any business like which one is related to me for the hotels. For example, we are being so many things, engineering equipments, lots of materials which is related to engineering. I supposed to not do that, which
Okay.
is
Very good. You got the point. Which hotel do you come from? LM Dhaka, very important market for us. I'm a bit concerned that none from India are opening about. The Bangladesh hotel is telling me about conflict of interest, and Indian hotels are not telling me about conflict of interest. 2 hotels in Bangladesh, and they are talking to about conflict of interest. Are we saying that we don't know what conflict of interest is in India? Yes? Do we know then? Let's say it. Yes, and I want to hear it, but if you don't talk to me, I will believe that you don't know about it. Right? So raise your hands and I want to hear what is conflict of interest. Yeah, so please pass on the mic away. I want to hear what is conflict of interest.
Yeah, Sanjeev this side from W Goa. Conflict of interest means when we should align our thought and the action as per the interest of the company and the target same. We should not have different ideology or different interest. We should align accordingly.
Okay. I think, let me clarify. I think we are getting it, but we are not hitting the conflict of interest issue. And I'm a bit concerned about the fact that not all of us are aware of conflict of interest. Conflict of interest is that when, in the essence of time, I'll go ahead and say it, but I don't want to ask, we've got another session of Neeraj coming up after this. Conflict of interest means that you will not engage in any activity which outside the scope of your business, which can start impacting your business, your work activity, right? I can give you an example. If your brother-in-law is having a repair of pumps, right? You can't have your brother-in-law be there giving an award to repair all the pumps in your hotel. That is conflict of interest, right? You can't have your wife running a shop of spare parts of India hardware shop, and every month the purchase order for the purchase of hardware is going to the shop itself. That is conflict of interest, right? When you have conflict of interest, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to fill up a form and declare it, right? You should declare it to the general manager of the hotel. You should declare to the relevant people in Marriott that, look, I have got this person who is related to me, right? You should abstain from getting finalizing the order. Whoever is finalizing the order, you should abstain from the decision-making process. You should not take part in that, right? So one is disclosure. Second is not taking part in that decision-making process for when the order is being given out, right? That is conflict of interest. Again, if you have queries, please go back, reach out to your director of finance and clarify. Safeguard the company's assets and protect confidential information. Very, very important. You have your tools and items which are there with you. You need to make sure that you take care of those things in the same manner as you would take care of your own product. When you're at home, you make sure that you take care of all your things properly, right? You ensure that all your things are properly taken care of. You ensure that they don't break, they don't. You ensure that they're properly taken from a maintenance perspective, they're well oiled and all that, right? Because we don't want to keep spending money at home on the same items again and again. The principle when we apply to our hotel assets should be exactly the same as what you would apply for your own items at home. It should not have a different level of benchmarking, right? The same level of care which you adopt for your, had it been your own item, should be taken for your hotel products also. Treat all associates fairly with dignity and respect. Very important. So as I mentioned at the beginning of our conversation, it is not just about how we do a business with what business activities we do. It's how we treat other people also is important from Marriott perspective. Report all observed violation of standards and laws. If you're watching that something is going wrong, it is our duty to make sure that we report about it, right? It is not about just keeping quiet. When you see that this is wrong, when tomorrow if something wrong is found out and there's a questions, people come back and look into it, right? One of the questions, if they find out that you knew about it, there will be questions asked to you that why didn't you report it out, right? So it is your responsibility to make sure that you report such things for any violations. Please have a look at this, right? It's just an illustration which I've given over here for the purpose of ensuring that what we need to do from an ethical conduct perspective. Anything which you are getting from an outside person, if someone is offering you that I'll give you something at a cheaper price for your own self, you are not supposed to take it, right? That's against the policy. Let's watch a video. Volume. Volume. इसका वॉल्यूम से पहले से स्टार्ट पहले से चालू करना
in the you-know-what. I can't believe we're actually on schedule to open the new offices in May. I thought construction was supposed to be a pain in the you-know-what.
Nah, that's what contractors want you to think. It's all an act.
Hey, do me a favor and tell my husband that, will you? We're remodeling this bathroom in our house, and I wanted to hire a contractor, but he insisted on doing it himself.
That was in construction.
More like dabbles in being a cheapskate. He started the project 3 months ago. It still looks like a war zone in there. And now I'm getting up at 4 a.m. to try and get in before my teenage daughters. I'm exhausted all the time.
Ooh, sharing a bathroom with teenagers. Nobody wants that. Hey, what if I send some of my guys over to work on it? I'll cut you a sweet deal. Just pay for the materials.
Really? You'd do that?
Absolutely. You know how much I appreciate the work you've hired us to do this year? This is only the first of 9 locations we're doing for you.
That's true.
Well, think about it. We'll be done in about a week. Your daughter gets her turf back, and you get some shut-eye.
What did we hear over there? There's a bathroom which was needed to be made. There's some work which needs being done at the hotel. The lady is talking to the vendor about the issue which he's having about a bathroom makeover at home. The husband decided to, in his wisdom, to start making the bathroom on his own. Couldn't do it. She has to share the bathroom with the teenage children. And what does the vendor say? I'll cut you a sweet deal. You only pay me for the material, not the labor, right? And he passes on one statement. This is one of the first ones which we'll be doing for you this year, right? So what will happen is that there's a conflict of interest, because the moment she takes that favor, that's a personal favor which she's taking. Tomorrow, when she's going in for another contract with the same vendor, from a pricing perspective, she will be bound by this thing that, look, that guy did me a favor, right? So even if she will not take a call to make sure that she's taking the right call. So always avoid conflict of interest where anything is there on a personal interest. Non-compliance. As I mentioned, non-compliance, this issue is taken very seriously from our company perspective. And non-compliance can take various forms, including termination from our side. From the company's perspective, it is found to be that it's been not adhered to. What should you do? You should report it to the law department, and there are various reporting options which you are supposed to do from your end to ensure that report out on the non-compliance. As I mentioned, if you have a question about it, please go back, ask a question to your Director of Finance, ask a question to Raj Savana. If you have any other thing, please feel free to write to me directly, right? And copy Raj Savana about it. And look, this is the question which I've got. I'm not getting clarity from my hotel. This is where I need your assistance with. I'm happy to assist you in getting you the right guidance. That brings us to the end of the session. So any questions from anyone before New Year's comes on stage? Any questions on ethical conduct, guys? Very important subject, absolutely the foundation of a company, on how we work in our organization. Absolutely zero tolerance for ensuring that we do not compromise on a conduct. When in doubt, ask a question. It'll go a long way in safeguarding your continuity with the company and ensuring that you don't get further being asked questions from our side. Yeah, go ahead. There's a question coming over here.
Somnath from Renaissance Hotel, Bangalore. We have around 100 hotels in South Asia. Do you think all the hotels is 100% comply with all the laws?
So if you ask me, our expectation is that you comply with all the laws.
No, just as a leader, do you think it's we are 100% comply?
No, we are not, right? But our expectation is that you would be compliant with it. But question is, are we compliant today? When you say that, are we compliant with all the laws? Today, if I go back into your hotel itself, right, will your hotel be 100% compliant? Because when you go back and look at ensuring that all the fire exits not blocked off, right, will you be in a position to go back and confirm back today that all your fire exits are clear? You will not be in a position, because that is a constant supervision as you move along, work through the day, right? So as you work in a hotel, you need to make sure that you are compliant with it. When you see something wrong, you report it and ensure that that is in compliance from your side, right? But to answer your question, our expectation from our associates is that you will be 100% compliant. If you feel that you are not going to be able to be compliant, please come back and talk to us why you will not be compliant. But don't sit quiet on it and say that we will not be compliant.
If any real issues with the infrastructure, if it's not complying with the current law, so how we?
Yeah, great point. So if the owner has not complied with this thing from the building infrastructure itself, right? it's nothing which you can do from your end, right? It has already been flagged. When the building was handed over, it was flagged that this was not compliant, right? To Marriott itself. So at that point of time, if there is any problem, the owner is responsible for it. What we are trying to ensure we do is that when we are taking over the operations of the hotel, we run the operations of the hotel in the lawful manner. The building non-compliance of the actual construction, this thing, is more from, we have had hotels where the building constructed was not compliant to the FSI laws of that particular state or city, right? What has happened subsequently, the authorities have came back and closed certain areas down because they were non-FSI compliant. It is the owner's responsibility to make sure that they fix it, because they were the one who made that changes in the drawing. They can't tell Marriott that you fix it, right? But we just took what we were given to operate on. But from our side, as we operate the hotel, we need to make sure that we are running our hotels in a lawful manner. Great question. Any other questions? Agreed. Any other questions, guys? No questions? Yeah, one over here.
So this is Raghavendra from Western Pune.
Western Pune?
Pune, yeah. So there is a lot of licenses and things that we need to comply in terms of organization with government licenses and things. Now there is no clarity kind of thing, like what are the things which operators supposed to do and what are the things which owners supposed to do. There is not a fine, the line between that which differentiate this is very fine. And there are so many licenses which operators have to do, but those are not being renewed or getting stuck because compliance is not there from the owner's side. So there's kind of...
Great question again. So what happens is that when we open a hotel, it clearly defines that the owners will procure the licenses from their side and hand over the license to the operator to operate the hotel. However, what we have found that in a lot of hotels which we have transitioned across from a legacy perspective, some items were not complied with at that point of time. Now, I understand where you're coming from, but if the predecessor company had accepted that and continued operating the hotel, it is difficult for us to go back and say that no, now we will not operate because it was non-compliant from day one, right? It doesn't just because we have started, it didn't become non-compliant when Marriott took over, right? But in your hotel, we are still working through with the ownership to get in the compliance mode. I don't know what specific area you're talking about. We are still working with the ownership on that front.
Like this, right, where there is no clarity as to who has to get the licenses. So if you are a director of engineering or chief engineer in a hotel that's about to open, my suggestion is that before we give the green light to open the hotel, please check. We now have a team in the Bombay office called the pre-opening team. Okay, does anybody know that? Amit Sharma? Anybody heard of Amit Sharma? Okay, so we have a team in Bombay now called pre-opening team. Their job is to help you to open the hotel. Okay, they have a list of all the licenses and who has to get the licenses. Till now, what is happening is when we need to open a hotel, we ask the general manager, can we open the hotel? And they say yes or they say no. I think going forward, we need to make sure that the engineer, chief engineer, director of engineering has a big voice in this. And if you feel the licenses are not there, you need to say it is not there, so that we can push the owner or ourselves. Sometimes it's the operator's responsibility also to get the license, not only the owner's, right? So we'll be happy to do that. But we're asking you to escalate to flag any cases where you are struggling with this. Okay? That's your job. Our job is not to point a finger at you. Your job is to say, we need a license, we don't have this, or this needs to be renewed, and then take it up through the hotel team to us. But I know a lot of you are dealing with that in a lot of, a lot of different markets. So. After opening, Amit doesn't help you. After opening, you have to get in touch with Mr. Saravana. That is the pre. So the hotel till pre-opening is Amit. After the hotel open, the day we open the hotel and do the opening ceremony, it becomes the area team's problem. Make sense? Okay.
Any other question? No problem. Neeraj? Thank you, everyone.
Yes, very much. He has to open and tell us. Thank you, Dharam. Thank you for enlightening us with whatever. Probably we know all that, but it needs a little bit of reinforcement and, remembering. So, what is the MIP policy number Dharam said? 1. So, that automatically tells you the importance of it. And please bear that in mind. Thank you.
So just someone mentioned conflict of interest on this thing, right? Let me clarify on this one. When Raj mentioned that he was planning to give something at the conference, I asked him, what are you planning to give? This is a power bank, right? Just so that everyone is aware of it. It's a power bank. The value of it is less than $25. I checked with him yesterday. I called him last night and asked him that question. Right? So one more thing which I want to say before I go off, right? And I think even though it's not left to ethical conduct, I want to ask one more question to it, which everyone will be there. A lot of times in Diwali or some other things, we receive gifts at our hotels from vendors, everyone. What is the value of the gift which we need to declare to? MIP 75. What is the value which we can receive? I understand you need to avoid so that conflict of interest, but if at all you're accepting a gift, right? What is the value which the policy requires you to declare to your supervisor? $200, that's right. So just want to make sure that everyone is aware of it. Thank you, everybody.
Good job, man.
So we'll request Neeraj to take the stage over.
Thank you. So Raj told me I have to come here. He said if I don't come here today, then he will not come to work for 1 week. That's what he said. And he will not even give me his leave form. So I said I better come here. Well, it's great to be here. CJ, thank you for the great setup. I think it's nice to see all of you in this hotel. This is a great hotel to have the conference because we had a lot of issues with the pre-opening of this hotel. How many of you came here on task force? See, I don't think so many people came in a hotel on task force ever, but it's good to see the improvements in the hotel. So, it's nice to see what the team here has done. So great work with that. So when I was asked to, do I have a clicker? When I was asked to come and speak to you guys, I was thinking about what I would come and say to you guys, right? And if you look at how it works with, is it up here? Yeah, sorry, thank you. If you look at how it works with you guys, you are technically better at your jobs than I am. So I cannot stand here and tell you anything about engineering that you don't know. You know more about engineering than I do, right? Dharam has already covered the integrity piece. So there's nothing I can tell you that Dharam has not told you about it. And I don't want to tell you too much about, balanced scorecard and all of those things because they're very boring things. I think all of you see that in your hotel every day, right? You see your balanced scorecard? Yeah. So I thought I'll talk to you a little bit about where Marriott is today, where we are going as a company. And I also then want to talk to you about what I believe is the most important thing for you to be successful. and that is how to focus on yourself as a leader. Every single one of you is a leader of a team, correct? Is there anybody in this room who's not leading a team? Everybody? How many of you have a team of more than 5 people? Everybody. How many of you have a team of more than 10 people? 15 people? Most of you, right? I think many of you lead teams 20, 25 and upward. So you have to remember, what I want to talk to you about today is the importance of you as a leader, so how you can improve the performance of your department. Okay, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that. But before that, I want to talk to you about where we're going as a company. As a company, we are very, very focused today on travel. Okay, if you look at our mission statement, what is it? What is the Marriott vision statement? Travel company, not hotel company, right? So we are very focused on travel. We are betting very heavily on travel. And as a company, what we are saying is that the future of the world is going to be travel. More and more people are going to travel to different parts of the world, and more people are going to need to stay in hotels, eat in hotels, do all of things when they are on travel. So we're betting very heavily on travel. If you look at the travel industry today, it is growing exponentially. There are more Indians traveling today than ever traveled. There is more money being created in India today than there ever was. There is more money being spent on food and beverage today than there ever was. Okay? Indians in 2018, Indian people in 2018 spent $94 billion on travel. $94 billion was spent by Indian people on travel. Travel within India and travel outside India. Only 7% of that was spent on hotels. Why? Because Indian people spend a lot of money on travel, but when they travel to a place, most Indian people stay with their friends or their relatives. That's a unique thing about Indian people, right? So when you go to Dubai, or when you go to US, or when you go to Malaysia, if you have friends, you're more likely to stay with them. If you have family, you're definitely going to stay with them. So Indian people's appetite for hotels is still very small, but it's growing quite a bit. Okay? You look at the amount of airports the government is putting in. You look at the amount of roads that India is building every day. It is higher than any other country today, right? There was a time when China was building a lot of roads, correct? Today, India builds 29 kilometers of road every single day in this country. We build more road than anybody else today. And all those roads have to go somewhere, right? So that's why we're betting very heavily on travel. So travel is the future. You will be traveling a lot more. In the past, an average Indian used to make a trip once every 2 years. Today, an average Indian is making a trip 3 times a year. And I'm not only talking about, these are all trips. These are trips to see your family. These are trips to go to the temple. These are trips to drop your kids to school, whatever those trips are, right? So travel is big. And as a company, we are saying that we have a great opportunity to grow in travel. The other exciting thing about our company, it's not about 100 hotels, but it's about the number of brands that we have in our portfolio. What makes Marriott different to Taj, what makes Marriott different to Oberoi's, what makes Marriott different to ITC is that we have a lot of different brands within our portfolio, right? So we have a brand for everyone sitting on this bike. Depending on what their salary is, we have a brand for them. Okay, so what we're trying to say is that irrespective of who you are, what your income is, what your spending power is, where you're going, we will have a brand of hotels for you. So you're working for a very exciting company. You're working for a company that is growing faster than anybody else. We open a hotel every 14 hours. I don't know whether you know this statistic, but Marriott opens a hotel somewhere in the world every 14 hours. Okay? In India this year, we will open 22 hotels. So the growth is there, the opportunity is there, and many of you will grow into larger roles where you'll take on a lot of more responsibilities. Okay? The key to your opportunity, to your success is going to be what you do today with yourself, which is going to make you ready for the job that comes tomorrow. Many of us make the mistake of saying, I want to become this after 2 years. We don't say, what do I need to learn to become that after 2 years? where you are today and how you deal with your current job today, how you deal with developing yourself today will decide where you go in 2 years. So the message I want to give you today as we go forward in this is that you need to focus on your leadership. And I'm going to share with you a story. This is a personal story of mine that I want to share with you. This happened with me, and I learned a lot from this, and I thought I'll just share this with you. So as many of you know, I worked in China. I worked for 8 years in China. I was very fortunate. I got to work in Hong Kong, in Beijing, and then in Shanghai. And this happened with me in Shanghai. I was GM of a Marriott hotel in Shanghai. And you know business council, all the GMs come together. And one day we decided that the Marriott GMs are going to take part in the dragon boat race. This is a boat race in China. It's very popular during the festival. And you can go and register a team. And we said, let's take all our GMs together. In those days, we had 15 hotels in Shanghai, right? And we said, I think now Shanghai has 55 or 60 hotels. I don't know how many. But in those days, we were 15. And we said, let's go out and form a team and take part in a dragon boat race. Okay? And almost none of us, I think out of 12, 13 of us that were there was only 1 or 2 people who had ever done that. None of us had even done that before. So 13 GMs and all these people that you see are general managers. That is me in my cap here, this one. The picture is not very clear, but these are all GMs, right? So if you can see, all of us show up one morning. We show up to a lake. You don't go to the actual river for practice, you go to a lake. And they make us do some warm-up exercises, and then they said, this is a team of GMs and they want to do the dragon boat race. So what is the first thing we need? The first thing we said we need a coach. Why? Because we are smart, right? We said, let's hire a coach. If you hire a coach, we have a better chance to win. So we hired a coach. We hired a Chinese man, obviously, who was an expert at this. He was an old man. He was about 65 years old. And he was our coach. And he sat us down and he said, what do you want to do? And we said, of course, we want to win the race. Right? And this is a public race. This is not a private race, right? This is a public race. And if you look at that public races, you get these teams of professionals who are very, very good. They do it like every day. They're professional teams that participate in this. So he looked at us and he smiled and he said, let's take the first race. Let's see how we do in the race. And then we'll see where we go from there. It's a very clever man, right? And we're thinking, yeah, come on. We have 13 general managers. Of course, we can do anything. So he said, come back after 1 week and we start the practice. Now the practice for the race starts about 5 months before the race. You don't go to the race and 5 days before and do the thing. So we show up in the morning. He makes us all get into the boat. We said, where should we sit? He said, you sit anywhere. So we sat anywhere in the boat, not like this. This is a picture of the race. But we sat in the boat and he said, now you row. And after 5 minutes, that's what happened to us. 5 minutes. Right? And that's when I realized the value of a life jacket. When you fall in the water. It's early morning, we're in the water. This is a place called Changfeng Park. There's a big lake there, and this is where we were practicing. Less than 5 minutes, we were in the water. Okay? And the reason for that was because we thought we could do a lot of things, but we didn't know how to do them. So then they pulled us out of the water. He made us sit down. And he told us, this race is not about you. This race is about everybody in this boat. Because this is not about how strong you are. This is about balance. This is about putting the right people in the right position. And most importantly, everybody needs to row in sync. Row in sync means everybody needs to do the same thing at the same time. Right? So he made us sit. He said, we'll have 5 of you and 5 of you. So we had 10 people rowing the boat. We had one lady standing at one of our persons standing at the back. That person's job is to point the boat in the direction. Right? It's called the rudder. And the captain, where is the captain of the team? The captain is the person sitting here in the front. This is one of our GMs. She was our captain. And she has a drum in the front. I know the picture is not very clear, so you can't see it. She has a drum in the front. And she doesn't look in the front of the boat, but she looks towards the team. And she uses the drum. And when she beats the drum, you need to row. If she beats the drum slowly, you need to row slowly. If she beats the drum faster, you need to row faster. So it's like the accelerator, right? But look where the captain is watching. The captain is not looking in the front. The captain is looking at the team, right? Make sense? We practiced every single day, every single week. Now the thing with rowing is, you can't go every day to practice because your muscles when you don't have muscles, it really hurts. And if you have muscles, you get tired with those muscles, right? So you can only go twice a week or maybe once a week. So 14 weeks before the race, we practiced every day once a week. And then the last 6 weeks, we practiced every week twice a week. So we did a lot of practice sessions. And we became very, very good. And I'll tell you, many of us who are rowing, we don't even open our eyes. Our eyes remain closed. You just listen to the drum and you row. And you get really, really good at this, right? About 3 weeks before the race, we heard that IHG was putting a team in the race as well. So now we got a new goal. We said it's not about winning the race. We need to beat IHG, right? That is our main goal in there. And the IHG team was also like us, GMs and salespeople and all that. It's not a professional team. And on the day of the race, we did really well. We won 2 races. It's a big deal. It's not a small deal. We won 2 races that day, right? IHG did not win even one. That was the better news. But we won 2 races. And for me, why I tell you this story is because the learning from this was fantastic. When I meet these people, and many of them most of them are still with Marriott, we always remember that we call ourselves the Dragon Boat team. Today, one of these guys is Silvio here, is the GM of JW Hong Kong. There's Tyson there who's in Shanghai. There are a number of them in different places, and we all meet each other and we remember that we did this together. And the learnings from this is what I want to share with you, right? As a leader of a team, please remember the following. Number one, you've got to make sure that if you want to do something different, if you want different results, you have to make your team do something different. The reason we did this boat race was to raise money for charity. And if I look at most places, what do we do for charity? We go for a run, we clean the park, we go and do something and we raise charity, right? Or we send an email and we say give money. That's another way to raise charity. This way of raising charity was about doing something to challenge ourselves. So make sure as a leader, if you want dramatically different results, you do something that is dramatically different. People will remember you for that. The other things to remember is when you are leading a team, whatever you're trying to do, please make sure that everybody in the team knows their exact job. Many, many times we ask people to do things, but people don't know what exactly I need to do on the team. In this team, everybody knew his exact job. I could wake up in my sleep and I knew where I was sitting in that boat. I knew that I am the last guy sitting there in the boat. I never went and sat in the front, or I never changed, because we were absolutely clear what our job was, what we had to do. Okay? It was crystal clear. The person who is the captain, and you are the captain in your engineering teams, stop looking outside. Sometimes look inside. Sometimes look at your team and say, how is my team doing? Are they tired? Are they not tired? What do I need to do? What are they feeling? By looking at your team, you will learn more about your team than by looking outside your team. Most of the times what you do is you don't look at your team. You stand in the front and you look in the front and the team is behind you. Spend time understanding your people. Different people are different at different times of the day. Different people are different in different jobs. Different people need different buttons to be motivated. Okay, it's very, very important to do that. And most important of all, guys, at the end of the day, remember, if different people are rowing at different speeds, you will not make it. If you want to be a successful team captain, you have to make sure that everybody in the team is doing everything as per what the plan is. You have to have success, you have to have sync, you have to have balance, you have to have rhythm in the team. It's not about the strength. What we try and do many times is, we think that if we hire a great person, the team is going to do well. It does not do well most of the time. Right? Do you all follow football? Does anybody follow football here? How many of you follow football? Do you know the Champions League? Do you know a team called Barcelona? What happened 2 days ago? They were leading 3-0 to Liverpool and they lost 4-3. They had Lionel Messi in the team and they still lost by 4 goals to Liverpool. Why? Because they are reliant on 1 or 2 players. Liverpool today is a proper team. Right? They don't have a big star. They don't have really big stars like Messi. Many times you make the mistake. I go to a number of people and they say, I want to hire a really good director of F&B and my F&B is going to change. It will not change. It will not change until everybody in F&B is doing their job. And the same thing is with you guys. Unless every person in your team is doing what they're supposed to do, you will not achieve these results. Whatever Raj Saramana wants you to do, whatever Dharam wants you to do, whatever I want to do, you will not achieve just by hiring 1 or 2 people that you think are very good. Okay, so make sure that your team works collectively as a team. That's very, very important. 2, 3 other things I wanted to share with you, which I think are important. As leaders, focus on these things. These are very important attributes of leaders. Okay? Please, I know I saw Dharam talk about this. I'm sure you've heard about this. Treat people with respect, team success, all of that is important. But for me, the number one thing is up there on the top, which is have the ability to listen. When you are the leader of a team, your main responsibility is to listen, not to talk. That's why God gave you 1 mouth and 2 ears. He wants you to listen more than talk. And we have this propensity as leaders, we like to tell people what to do. Listen to what the team is telling you most of the time. Because when your team has a problem, they come to you. You are the only solution to the problem. And if you don't listen, the problem will never get solved. And as you go up the company, as you become very senior, learn to listen, learn to become a very good listener, because that's very important in your jobs. Ask a lot of questions. Listen. Okay? And the rest, many of you do with great success. There's 5 things that I always tell people about our company that makes us different from other companies. Number 1, we're a very matrix-driven company. And what I mean by matrix, I mean that in many organizations, everybody has only one boss. In Marriott, mostly, people have 2 reporting lines. Correct? All of you report to Raj, you also report to the GM. Right? And it's important to understand that when you have that, the idea is not to make your 2 bosses fight with each other for you. The idea is to get support from 2 places to be able to do your jobs better. Okay? Raj's job is to drive the initiatives of engineering through the hotels. The GM's job is to run the hotel. They're 2 different jobs, and you have to support both the leaders. Okay? That's there. And as you go up in the company, you'll realize the company gets more and more matrix driven. So to succeed in this company, you have to realize that you have to be collaborative. You have to learn to work with other disciplines. This is not a company where you can decide by yourself something. You need to be able to work very well with your colleagues. So work well with your leadership teams, work on the collaboration bit of the leadership teams. The other thing I want to talk to you is about centralization. Most of us sitting in the corporate office are your consultants. The person running the business is your general manager. The person running your business is your market vice president or your area vice president. All the other roles that we have are that of a consultant. They are there to help you. So if you have questions, direct those things to those roles. Okay? So supposing there is if you look at that screen, that partition is not very nice right now, right? Should I tell Raj Saramana to fix the partition, or should I tell Chandrasekhar Joshi to fix? Who should I tell? General manager. But I will also tell the general manager, If you have a problem and don't know what to do, please speak to Raj. He'll help you to do it. That is the difference in the roles, right? The accountability sits with the property. The area team is more of a consultant to help you. And our job is to do that. And if you're not doing our job, you need to tell us. I ask you this question, I'm not getting an answer. That's what we're here for, to support you guys to do your jobs, okay? We are a global company, but we need to be locally relevant. What does that mean? It means that while we are global and while we think globally, it is very important that we understand the need to understand the local nuances. That is why today Marriott in India is run by Indians, right? It is important that we understand the local scenarios in most of our markets. Marriott in China, if you look, is really run by a lot of Chinese people. And as we go forward, we're going to localize and make sure that we have people in positions who understand the local nuances. Okay? India is a very diverse country. South India is very different from North India. That's where our expertise needs to get more localized as well. And finally, communication. Make sure you communicate really well as leaders. And again, communication means body language, it means listening, it means the way you dress, it means the way you talk to your team, it means the way you write emails, it means what time you come to the office. Everything about you as a leader communicates a message. Okay? A decision I make about who is going to be a GM of a hotel communicates to everybody what kind of leadership we want at that hotel. So every decision you make as a leader communicates a message to everybody else in your team. So communication is very important as a leader. And finally, walk the talk, humility that we talk about. So my favorite slide, what do I want from you guys? Right? I really want us to focus on these 4 things from engineering. I sat down with Raj at the start of the year and I said, Raj, these are the 4 things we need to drive. I think you heard a lot about product, you heard a lot about maintenance upkeep, you've heard a lot about property, exterior, interior, all those new measurements we have, which is great. As engineers, as directors of engineering, chief engineers, please understand we want you to maintain your hotels really, really, really well. I think today the biggest gap between Marriott and some of our competitors is that we don't do a good enough job of maintaining our property. Okay? And if you truly want to be known for high quality product, high quality service, we need to make sure our hotels are really well kept. And that means having a good preventive maintenance program. That means spending the money. That means making sure we have AMCs, making sure we get the jobs done on time. Okay? Raj and I are going to get and I'm saying Raj Saravan and I are going to get very, very tough with your GMs and with yourselves about this thing this year. India is in a very good place. We're making a lot of money. We need to spend money on the product quality at our hotels. Okay? So please don't try to save too much money when it comes. What has to be spent on your product. Okay? The second thing is about sustainability. This is something that we are pushing very, very hard right now. We have a meeting every single month. Every month I meet with Raj and I meet with Nikita and I say, tell me what you have done about sustainability. And we are saying do big things, not eliminate plastic straw. I'm happy everyone has eliminated plastic straw, but I want more than that. We are talking about how can we get rid of plastic bottles in the rooms now. I was talking to the GM of JW AeroCity. They use or they buy bottled water worth 1.7 crores every single year. 1.7 crores. It's a lot of plastic. It's a lot of plastic that they use. Okay, so we're saying try to come up with ways by which we can remove plastic from the hotels. Okay? Try to make sure that you guys are doing the right things in terms of water saving. Make sure you guys are doing the right things in terms of energy saving. Make sure that we're doing the right things in terms of how our properties, our new properties are being maintained, how they're being cleaned, how they're being kept. And think of the sustainability bit in this. One of the things I do these days, every time I go to the hotel, you know what I do? I take everything out of the cupboard and out of the drawers and I put it on the bed. It's very funny. If you come to my room after I check in, after 10 minutes, you'll see I've opened everything in the room and I put it on the bed. and I look how much plastic is in that room. And then I take a picture and I go and talk to the GM after that. I want us to remove plastic as much as we can. And I know we're working very hard in operations, in engineering to do that. What you can do effectively is come up with great ways to reduce usage of plastic and harmful things to the environment in our hotels. Okay, that is the future. We came from a generation in India where if we drank mineral water, bottled water, that means we were doing very well in our lives. I can afford to drink Bisleri or whatever water, right? Today's world has changed. Today, plastic is harmful to the environment. Drinking water from a plastic bottle is not a cool thing anymore. Okay? So we need to pivot. We need to change. And finally, we're going to talk about the new program that Raj has started, but we got to focus on talent development. Everything that we are about is about people, and it is your responsibility, team, to make sure that you invest in your people and you invest in yourself. I don't know how many of you know Simon Cooper. Does anybody know Simon Cooper? He used to be our president before Mr. Craig Smith. And I had breakfast with me one day and he said, Neeraj, there's one thing I'm going to tell you is, he said, be a student for the rest of your life. And what he meant by that was continuously learn new things and study. Right? And that's the advice I give everybody. I always tell my direct reports, where is your development plan? How much time are you spending studying? You need to study. You need to constantly study and change and learn new things, because that is important for your career. And you need to give that opportunity to people that are working for you. Okay? When you invest in somebody's education, the person will be grateful to you for the rest of their lives. And you'll feel good about it. So make sure you work on this talent bit. And Raj has been a fantastic ambassador of this on the area team. I can tell you, out of all my area team, and I say this without any bias to anyone, the engineering setup that we have, that he has done by having the subject matter experts, by creating cluster positions, now by creating this program where we've taken people and developing them into HODs, which he's got a nice name for, right? It's called H2B. That's what it was, H2B. Is actually fantastic. And I wish every discipline of mine could do something like this. So invest in your people, and people will always remember you as someone that did something good for them. People will never remember what your balance scorecard was. I can't remember my balance scorecard of 2018 already. I cannot remember my balance scorecard from 2010 when I was GM of the year. I don't even remember the balance scorecard. But I remember the people who were on my team because of whom I got the award. Right? So please make sure, guys, that you spend a lot of time. And investing in talent is not, let's go for a drink or let's do this. Investing in talent is sitting down with someone and saying, these are 2 or 3 things I think you need to improve, and here is my suggestion on how you can improve it. And now go and make the time to do it. Okay, so please invest in your people. If you're going to open a hotel every 14 hours, we need a chief engineer every 14 hours. Right? Actually, every 12 hours. You need to go 2 hours before the hotel opens at least. So we need to make sure that we spend all the time doing some of this. Okay, so in conclusion, what I'm going to tell you is, all the great things that you set out to do, you will not be able to do unless you are a great leader. Unless you are a great leader. I know maybe the names of 8 or 10 of you. I don't know everybody's name. And when I say I know your names, I mean I can put your face to the name. So if Raj tells me a name, I can put a face. Maybe I know 15, 16 of you guys. I can remember your names and your faces. I'm sorry, I can't remember more than that. But I don't even know what your qualification is. I don't know whether you're a civil engineer or electrical engineer, or if you're a chartered accountant or a fashion designer. I don't know. I know you because of something that you have done at your hotels that has nothing to do with your qualification. It's more to do with something that you've done related to somebody. Right? So please remember that. That's what people take away at the end of the day. So invest in your people, be a great leader, and continuously try to improve your leadership skills. Nobody is born a leader. Some people are, but most people are not. Keep trying to improve them. And guys, aim for the sky. I want to see general managers coming out of engineering. I'll be the happiest man the day that happens. I told Paul, I want to see an engineer, I want to see a LP leader become a GM one day. I mean, how great will that be? Right? So, learn, make sure your teams learn, and become very, very strong leaders. That will always help you to lift yourself and aim for bigger things. Okay? That's all I had to tell you. I have nothing technical to tell you because you know more about engineering than I do. You can tell me about it. But thank you for your time, and it was lovely talking to all of you. Thank you. I get a gift as well. Dharam, can you check the receipt for this? Make sure it's $200.
This is definitely complaint, no doubt.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This is not allowed in the plane. Handbag is allowed.
Handbag, yes.
Thank you. Do you still want me up here? Or?
Yeah, in a few minutes. So just to pick up one thing from Neeraj's discussion, out of many good things he spoke, looking back at your teams, right? Sometimes we just forget that and we focus more on the goals and more on the external factors and more on the top management. But unless you have focus and your attention to the team, it's not going to be really an easy task. I think that's a very good takeaway for us from my perspective today. Okay, so taking forward from where exactly Neeraj left his presentation with the talent development, it gels very well with the continuation of this. So we are going to talk a little bit more about this program, but may I request WK to share his thoughts, and then we will go through some of the facts of the program.
Good morning. Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank Raj and the South Asia engineering team to invite me, a sunsetting vice president of engineering, to join this conference. I thought this could be my last time to attend the engineering conference. However, I have changed my mind. You know, next time you still need to invite me, just in case Mao has the visa problem again. So going back to H2B. H2B. So when Raj asked me to do some presentation, at first no big deal. I'm leaving, I'm retiring. I don't need to speak too much. But when he showed me it's H2B, I have no clue about that. When I research a little bit more from Raj, it's a program to develop someone from the rank and file to the number 2 position, right? So how many of you know the CEO in MasterCard, in PepsiCo, and in Microsoft, in SoftBank, and also in Adobe and Google? There's something in common for them. Again? Yeah, they are all Indians, of course. That's why I picked those 6. Thank you. And one thing I think they are in common is, before they became the first-time CEO, they have been gone through the number 2 in different companies. Am I correct? By saying that, how many of you sitting here, including myself, how many of us in this room are moving up from the rank and file to number 2 and to current position? How many? Right? That means the importance of number 2 position is equally same as the number 1 position. Without the number 2 position, they cannot be a number 1. Especially now, our company is expanding. Neeraj just said, this year we are going to open 22 hotels in India. Just India. How about in other countries in Southeast, in Asia Pacific? There will be 60, 70, or even 80. We don't know yet, depending on the schedule of the construction. So expansion is core, right? It's the 2019. The words we talk most in 2019. Number two is important, develop people is important, not only because of expansion, because also due to your personal movement. If you have a good number two, you can move to other bigger property if open or if there's a vacancy. And you can even move up to a cluster position, a market position, or area position. If you don't have a good number two to work for your hotel, then it's hard to consider you to be the candidates in those openings. Am I correct? You've gone through the number two, I've gone through the number two. To share with you my personal experience, when I worked in Hong Kong JW, there was only one hotel in Asia Pacific. I already started developing people. I worked in JW for 6, 7 years. I developed 4 DOE. At that time, they haven't been a DOE yet. Only by the time I was promoted in the regional office, we get 1 DOE promoted. But by the time we expand, we grow more and more, then the other engineers also have the opportunities to be promoted. This is the importance of developing the number two, so that you can move, they can move too. So the curriculum of the X2B, I think, is the leadership, financial acumen, technical skill, and engineering application, crisis management, and also cost property training. But after last night's gala dinner, I think we need to add one thing for Indian. It's Indian dance. They need to learn how to dance, right? Otherwise, they cannot become a number two. Our expectation to all of you is to select the right candidate, to look at the operation of any discipline, to select the right candidate, to develop them to become the good number two, and then move up. This is an expectation to all of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, WK. So we'll go through the program very quickly. Yeah. And then Neeraj and WK will come on stage to really launch the program. So I'm going to take a quick couple of minutes to tell you about the program. It's a crafted program, I would say, rather than it's just a book which was made. The team put a lot of effort into it, and there is a team of, the senior DOEs and then the junior people who just became HODs. So because we want to hear from them, which is the first point what Neeraj has highlighted, we need to listen, we just can't make, right? So it's a good combination of the team who made this program. And it's a 360-degree approach. WK has covered now what are all the 5 big parameters covered in the whole program. And it's just not technical. It's not going to teach you only technical, the transformers and generators and things like that, which you know already, and our number twos also equally knows. It's much more than that. And it provides, these are all the 5 things what just now WK explained to you. Yeah, so it's all about utilization of our advanced technologies. We spoke very briefly in the morning. The way how hotel was operated by chief engineer 7 years, 5 years back was very different, and today we are equipped with so many platforms. So we need to groom them to that level. We need to clearly give the expectation and then bring them to that frequency. Then that makes more easy for them to become a number one. And basics, which is the concept of our last engineering conference, back to basics, and then it also helps them in, it is helping them in strategizing and other things by the cross property exposure, what they are going to do, and they are going to run the hotel. When they go for the cross property exposure, it's just not for landing, they are going to run the hotel for that period of time when they are spending in that hotel. So these are all the few good things about the H2B. It's a 6-month program, and then there will be mentors assigned to the candidates, and then they will, currently 45 people are already enrolled. We have all the details. I'm not presenting here, but what a beautiful data bank and what a beautiful team of, I can see them already. I can see many DOEs in that already. Although they are just enrolling themselves into H2B. So much talent we have. We just don't want to let the talent go haphazard here and there. We just want to bring them along and transform them to a next level. So it consists of the property exposure. The final graduation is through the discussion, with the common general manager, with the director of finance, and with the HR. So they have to go through all the discussions, and the successful candidates will be the graduates from this program. So now I request Neeraj and WK to come on stage, please. And we have the candidates who are enrolled for this program. Please come on stage. May also good to see you, man. Good to see you. May also request Jagdish from Ritz-Carlton, who has done a good job in putting these things together. And there are 5 other team members. Unfortunately, they are not here. But Jagdish also played a major role in doing that. Yeah. Give it to WK. Yeah, you have to just open, Neeraj. So yeah, I request you to just open, unveil the book, show it to the team, and then you can hand over to them. Yeah, music, why not? Jagdish, you open this also. 3, we'll give it to 3. Let's see who opens first. Okay, team. So now the request is, it's not the end of the program session, it's just the beginning of the session. So to take this forward and to make it success is really in each one of your hands. It's not that Jagdish or any one team or any individual is going to do. So my humble request to each and every one of you is to make this program very success, and this is just the beginning, and we should be committed to ourselves and to everybody on the stage that this will really become a successful program, and it is going to be further adopted in many other places and many other disciplines. And can we get that commitment from you? Okay, great. Thank you, Neeraj, thank you, WK, and thank you all.
Team, I'm going to leave now, but I really want to thank you for the great first quarter results. I don't know whether Raj has shared with you, but our results were very, very good in Q1. The work you guys are doing is fantastic. Please keep it up. Please continue to focus on the things we talked about. And most importantly, please develop as leaders. Okay? I look forward to seeing you when I come to your hotels. come and say hello. Don't run away from me when I come to the hotels. And I look forward to catching up with you then. Okay? Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Okay, team. So we are going to break for the tea break now, and then there is a photo session. So first tea break, then photo session, and then we all are back here. Thank you.